Are we live too?
Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay, live on YouTube, you're good to go.
Thanks a lot. So I think we're good to begin. So good evening, everyone. Very warm welcome to each one of you, and a special welcome to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Manus Kala. I'm Samyukta, the Secretary of Rasor, the Ramanujan Society of Research, which is a student-run research society that is focused on creating spaces where students can meaningfully engage with research through conversations much like today's. And on behalf of the entire team, I'm delighted to start off today's session, which is Academia to Automation, Rethinking How Research Gets Done. So, this session marks episode 2 of our ongoing series, which is Down the Research Rabbit Hole, a series where we explore what research looks like beyond textbooks or assignments, how curiosity turns into real inquiry, and how research evolves across academia, industry, and ultimately the real world. So today we are honored to host Dr. Manas Kala, a researcher, assistant professor, and an entrepreneur. So he's someone who has walked through academia, venture ecosystems, and startup driven innovations that actually impact researchers' work in practice. So, before we start off, I just want to quickly lay out the flow for today's event. So, we'll be beginning with a moderated fireside chat discussing Dr. Kala's experiences and perspectives of the various research processes. This will be followed by a brief illustrative walkthrough of Veritus, which is Dr. Kala's platform, highlighting how AI tools can fit into modern research workflows. And then we'll also be opening the floor for an interactive Q&A where you, the audience, can pose your questions directly to Dr. Kala and get them answered. And we'll be concluding finally with a closing note from our Deputy Secretary, Aditi. So to guide us through this conversation, I now invite our host for today, Karthik Vijay Kumar, to introduce our guest speaker and take the session forward. So over to you.
Thank you, Samyukta. It was a wonderful introduction. It's a great pleasure and honor to welcome Dr. Manas Kala, a distinguished researcher, educator, entrepreneur, and whose work seamlessly bridges rigorous academic scholarship with transformative AI innovation. Dr. Kala earned his PhD from Osaka University, Japan, wherein he currently serves as a specially appointed assistant professor in mobile computing laboratory at the Graduate School of Information Science and Technology. He also holds an MTech in Computer Science and Engineering from IIT Hyderabad, India, and has been recognized with prestigious accolades, including the Employee Excellence Award from Infosys and the IIT Hyderabad Research Excellence Award. His academic contributions focuses on wireless networks, mobile computing, applied AI ML, and related fields, with over 15 high-impact publications and citations exceeding 450 on Google Scholar in leading venues. Beyond academia, also, Dr. Kala is the founder and CEO of Veritus, an innovative AI-powered platform that streamlines complex research workflows, automates time-consuming tasks such as literature reviews, data analysis, and empowers professors, researchers, and students to accelerate discovery and productivity. His entrepreneurial path has included guiding teams to semifinals of the Ericsson Innovation Awards in 2020 and the Hull Prize Impact Summit in 2021. Dr. Kala's rare ability to combine deep theoretical expertise with practical, scalable AI solutions that necessitates him to be the perfect guide for today's session on rethinking research from traditional academia to an automation driven future. Dr. Manas Kala, On behalf of all of us, thank you so much for joining us and generously sharing your time and effort and insights. We are truly honored to learn from your journey and perspectives. The floor is over to you, sir.
Thank you, Karthik and Samyukta, and everyone else who invited me today, Siddharth, and I can see Shashank. And the 30 other people, I welcome all of you. It's great to be here. And I've never been referred to as Dr. Kala so many times in 5 minutes. In fact, I don't think ever in my life anyone's ever called me Dr. Kala. So thank you for that. For the first time since I graduated from the doctoral program, do I feel like doctor? So thank you for that. Cool. So my name is Manas, and please call me that. It'll keep the conversation fluid and fun. I'm the
Perfect.
co-founder and CEO of Veritas. What we do is we help researchers, and R&D labs go from an idea to an output, something that they can actually submit, a grant application, a manuscript, a literature review, a hypothesis formulation. We take them from zero to one, as many of you are entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial. So that's the simplest way to put it. Cool. We are a Japanese company, a Japanese startup, and now we are in Silicon Valley in the Alchemist Accelerator program. We are backed by Japanese venture capital firm Lifetime Ventures, angels from India, Europe, and Silicon Valley, and by the Japanese government. And we are eternally grateful for Jetro, grateful to Jetro for their constant support. And yeah, great to be here. Looking forward to your questions, and let's have fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Manas, or Dr. Kala, as you would like it, because
Just Manas. Manas is
okay,
good. Yeah.
perfect. Okay. So I think we will have a very fun and interactive session today, I think, because that is something that will set us the backbone for the next 1 hour or so. I would start with the introductory question, Manas. I think and the first one, which we have all been in awe of, is your research journey, and which we would like to know. We would like to rack your brains for the next 1 hour. So I think I'll start with this question. You've navigated research academic, you've navigated rigorous academic research across wireless networks and mobile computing, across all domains, to be honest, while also building an AI-driven company. How has moving between academia and entrepreneurship shaped the way you think about research itself? Because I sometimes believe there are two sides of the same coin, but I also want to know your take regarding how you move from academia and entrepreneurship and the transition and your entire journey, Manas.
That's a difficult one. And I'm glad we're opening up with that. My academic research started at IIT Hyderabad. Most things in my life were a consequence of some action that I did not choose. It happens sometimes. So my research was an outcome of an accident. I injured my back, and then I had to extend my PhD master's student by master's program by 1 year. I was a PA, then I had to go and do an RA program. I'm not sure if you guys know about these. And then I worked under my supervisor, Dr. Reddy, and I worked remotely, even though I was in the same campus. And so I started small. I did not know much about research. I had never done anything. I came from a tier two university and then worked at Infosys. I quite frankly did not know much about reading, writing, or a research paper, or like apart from seminars. So it was a new thing for me to do, and I found it interesting reading other people's work, ideas. It was as if someone's months of work is distilled down into 6 papers, their ideas, their effort, the conclusions, and you can read all that, process all that, and then you can build up on top of that. So literally, like it says on Google Scholar, you're building on top of the shoulders of giants or standing on the shoulders of giants. It was like that. So it was great reading 50, 100 papers, distilling them down into concrete ideas, and then figuring out what next to do, and then formulating your own idea or problem statement to solve, and then go about solving it. And once that is done, writing that into a narrative arc. Why are we solving this problem? Why is this important? How are we solving this problem? What is the solution? And what were the results? And what are the next steps? Writing all that down, and then, of course, submitting the fun and joys of peer review, waiting for months and years, getting rejected a few times. The whole arc is quite interesting. So that was academic research. I did not quite think about going into uh, like spinning it out into a startup. I wanted to build a company, and we did start something at IIT Hyderabad called Publicator. And that was also focused on research because I was so fascinated with the process of research. And I feel deeply that in tier two universities, there's just not enough focus. Now, thanks to NIRF rankings, there's a lot of focus on research. Like many students that I've worked with over the past few years remotely through our lab in Osaka University. These interns come from India. They come from tier two universities, and their focus is on research, which is amazing. But back in 2012, 13, there was no such thing. So I wanted to sort of change that. So we started Publicator, helping uh, like guiding, offering guidance to students in tier two universities from, say, PhDs, postdocs in India and outside of India who are doing great work for their BTech projects or their final year internships, things like that. So that was the only entrepreneurial thing I did in the first time I went about doing research. And as my academic journey went from IIT Hyderabad, a few years of gap, and then to the University of Osaka, uh, I continued to try out new things. Back then, I was working on wireless networks at the University of Osaka. I started with AR, VR, and LiDAR technology, and then very quickly pivoted into cellular networks. We can talk more about that later. Uh, Throughout this journey, it was not a core focus for me to spin that out into a company, especially when I was working on cellular networks, or look at a very real world application of my research. I just wanted to pursue problems that seemed interesting and solve them. In that way, it was not a linear line where I went from point zero to one to two and forward right down to starting a company. But all this, I would say, the fuzzy path sort of took me in that direction, if that makes sense. Did I answer your question? Sorry, it was a bit of a rant.
No, I think uh, yeah, I think absolutely. Sorry about the echo. Yeah, I think absolutely you answered. In fact, not only my question, you went through your journey about how you pursue research and coming from a tier 3 college. In fact, a lot of us have this question, we work for a bit, we work for after coming from a tier 3 college, we work for a few years, we might publish our first paper, and then we don't have a clear pathway towards research, which leads me to my next question. There's this idea called the messy reality of research, wherein many students imagine research to be a linear process, to be a clear cut process, which is like a step one, step two, and so on. But from your experience, what does the reality of research looks like? You said there were a couple of failures in your own journey as well, which if you could throw some light on that. And where do you think most researchers lose their time and momentum? And in what areas should they invest to maximize their output of and quality of research? Like to
Okay. Uh, if I can unpack that one, first question you asked me is the messy reality of research. What are the difficult parts? How do you do research essentially? Like, what are the challenges therein? And second, what are the setbacks you can expect, challenges you can expect? And what was the third one?
uh, you know v- most researchers lose their time and momentum. I think where exactly they could put in their
I
efforts,
got it.
concrete their efforts, so that they can maximize their efficiency and quality of research as well.
Okay, great. So the first one, yes, research is not very straightforward. and it's not very different from startups. Like, so research has a shiny object syndrome. You read something new on X, or you come across a new research paper, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to go do research in this field or this topic, and because it's popular or it's trending or it's hot right now. uh, my recommendation would be pick research areas that interest you. They don't even have to be in your domain. If you're interested in sociology, go ahead and study some sociology, how societies work. It doesn't matter. Uh, some of my papers are at the intersection of sociology and computer science. Some are at the intersection of statistics. Now it's AI and machine learning, but initially I'd use a lot of statistics in my papers. So study topics that interest you and then pursue a research problem in that field rather than pursuing a research problem in a hot trending area. The reason is when things get hard, which we'll speak about a little bit later, and things invariably get hard. It's an inevitable part of the process. That sort of joy that you find in pursuing something you love, that'll carry you forward through the like ebbs, especially. When it's flow, it's fine, but when it's ebbing, you need that sort of joy in the process to keep you going. So one advice would be pick something you really enjoy. Doesn't have to be in computing or robotics or electronics or whatever you're pursuing. It could be any topic of interest that you have, and you would find that it has application everywhere. Like ant colonization or ant networks inspired modern human computer networks. So go figure, right? So just pursue what you like. Second is how messy it is and what are the challenges. It's actually not super hard. Uh, if when you pick the topic that you like, you already have one thing going for you, you love it. So you'll read 5, 10, 20 papers, and with AI, you can probably read 200 in a day, right? You just scan through them. And once you have scanned through them, then the next thing is to figure out a problem that you want to solve. Now, at this point, you want to be absolutely clear to avoid the messiness in the process is what is your end goal or objective? Think of it as from a game theoretic point of view. Some research projects or the outcome of those research projects is purely to publish so that uh, you have a publication, your resume is better, and you have a tangible research output. For some, it's an applied project. Even if you do some research, at the end, you're building something or you're just analyzing something. Maybe it does not lead to a publication. And some are just fun projects, right? You're just doing it for learning or to grow as a person and as a researcher. So have your objectives very clear because these paths may not intersect as you move forward. Something that is very useful for society may not be publishing. Something that you love and have great findings on, no journal or conference will accept.
Right, Manas.
Right. So that path, that is important path. Once you are clear about that, the downstream process is not messy at all. What happens is people pick topics that are trending and hot that they know very little about or have very little interest on, and then chase those topics or work incredibly hard on them for some time. And then when they get stuck, suddenly the topic that you worked on for 6 months or 1 year is not hot anymore, and none of the journals or conferences are accepting like papers on that topic. And now you're like, oh, I just wasted my time. But first of all, even if it's messy, it's not a waste. But never feel that way and avoid. I mean, figure out what's the end objective, and then maybe trace back your path and the selection of your research topic, selection of your method, selection of your uh, collaborators on those based on your own objectives. So it'll become very clear. There will be challenges still, but at least you would know where you're headed. What's the direction? The exact milestones along the journey would not be clear to you. It never is, but at least you'll know the direction you're headed in. So that's number two. Setbacks, I had, everyone has their own bizarre setbacks, and it just happens. Uh, I'll share a funny story. So in research, we're supposed to collaborate. So I collaborated when I was at IIT Hyderabad. I collaborated with two researchers, one from India and one from another university from New Zealand. And in both the situations, they took that work and published it themselves. So that happens. That is a very real thing. And so you have to be a bit careful. That's one. Uh, Other than that, the major challenges are finding the right collaborators to work on a problem with. I think now on X and other platforms you can find there's a great community. So leverage that. Uh, Go beyond your existing networks. Reach out to people, researchers from other countries, other universities, and think of it as a process of division of labor. There's something you're good at, there's something someone else is good at, and you have to find that person and collaborate with them. Most of my research is collaborative with people from either University of Chicago or like industry, various IITs, and it's universities in Japan. Even as a PhD student, I was collaborating with my own networks of people. So that's useful, but at the same time, you have to be a bit careful to avoid that setback, right? Another challenge, other challenges are funding. Sometimes your project, uh, my co-founder Bitty is here, and one of her challenges was that grants and funding become like a constraint when your project requires that sort of spend. If it requires compute or travel or logistics, you have to have money. So please plan that out. What is the financial requirement of your research? Third setback is purely process oriented. It's in academia or academic research. There is the peer review process. It can sometimes go on, and it may not always be fair and transparent. To brace yourself for it, there is not anyone can do any much about it. Much about. Three, and final setback, I have never experienced this. All my supervisors worked sometimes one or until 1 or 2 in the morning with me and were always very prompt. But one setback could be that the PIs or supervisors that you're working with, they are either super busy
Yeah.
or perfectionists, and then feedback on your papers takes weeks and months, and that kills momentum, right? The biggest thing I want to say about research is that there is no dopamine release during the process. There is one high, and then for a very long time, there are just like either plateauing or just lows, right? You have to. So if you give someone your paper to review or get some feedback on, now for 2 weeks you have nothing to do, or like you're doing something else. So managing your own time is hard. Uh, Keeping a momentum going is hard. So avoid. um it's always good that while you're doing a major project, start a minor one. It sort of like keeps you going in the low and the plateau phases.
Right. Right. That was extremely insightful, Manas. I think it covered everything actually what we were looking for. And let me focus a little bit more on the part wherein you said uh, students collaborate, and I think Resor in itself is an initiative for that, wherein we help researchers collaborate across various institutions. We are trying to expand internationally, but that will be hopefully very soon. And also regarding the when a student tries to get access to resources, gets access to materials before trying to build a research paper of his own. Regarding that, was there a particular frustration or inefficiency in your own research journey that made you realize these problems couldn't be purely solved within academia, and building a tool or a platform might be the right response? I think in your own words, as professors, you spend more time on papers, revisions, and grants instead of the actual discovery that's being happening. So I think I would like to dig your brain a little bit more on Veritas and the origins of Veritas, and also a little bit on vibe research. I think I like the term vibe research, which is analogous to vibe coding, which has grown a fad on people these days. So if you could, explain a little bit more on that and go in detail, that would be great.
Certainly, Karthik. My research journey at the University of Osaka was like slightly turbulent early on. So I joined the lab to do LiDAR tech. Our lab is one of the best in the world in that space, and we have a spin-off, a successful spin-off startup come in that space from the same lab. And I specifically chose universities in the US and Europe to go to that lab, and there is only one of the two labs that I applied to in Japan. So when I got in, I we were supposed to start something, but COVID happened. And then overnight, I had to change my entire research topic to something new. Like I had to redo my research proposal and the whole thing. And we did not have a research problem. We did not have what to do because everything was in lockdown. I had to find collaborators to work with. I had to find new problems to solve, and all that within 2.5 years. The 6 months was already gone, scoping out the problem in LiDAR tech. So biggest problem for me that motivated me to start the company later was literature review. How do you get PhD level expertise, or at least master's graduate level expertise on any topic uh, in a month? I had to do that. So I read, there was a time that for almost 4 weeks, I just downloaded like 300 papers on the topic that I was supposed to work on, new topic in PhD. And I locked myself in a room. COVID helped, of course, as this could not go out. So I just I did a speed run on all those papers. And at the end of those 4 weeks, I had like, okay, this is the problem. In an entirely new field, cellular networks. I'd never worked on that before. So once I was done, and it was okay. I was successful. Uh, at that point, PhD for me became a problem to solve rather than a pursuit of joy, a topic that I find deep joy in. Because I had a limited time, I had papers to publish and to graduate on time. So this problem led to Veritus, but not directly. When I started Veritus at that point, the two biggest things that we wanted to solve, one was peer review, because my paper was stuck in a peer review process for 11 months. Betty, who's here, her paper was stuck in 18 months, and we really wanted to solve that problem. And second, finding papers, reading, synthesizing, summarizing, and then going to a concrete problem, that was another thing. So these two problems led to the idea. They are the idea behind Veritas initially. And Veritas is actually a play on the word veritas, which is truth in Latin. And we want and will build a platform that is reliable and accurate. So that's the motivation. Now, during my PhD, and we did two more projects, startup projects that I worked on, and I also worked in venture capital briefly as a remote intern. So it was not a straight path from that I did my PhD, I found these problems, and I started Veritas.
Yeah.
I did my PhD. It was in a topic that suddenly was new, and I was like, it was not my first pick, if I can put it plainly.
Okay.
And so I did these other things. And then when I had a bunch of ideas to pursue in startups, I learned during discovery that successful founders above 35 usually build and solve pain points that they have personally experienced. And those companies are quite successful. So we looked back into our backgrounds and said, what is the one thing that we really truly suffered? And we realized it was the pain points in PhD, like having to learn new topics at scale very quickly in a limited amount of time. And At that time, there was no generative AI. This was 2021, 20. The first GPT API was quite like it was unimpressive, if I can put it that way. But we wanted to solve this problem, and that's how we went about this. So it was a bit of a again a fuzzy path from research to some startup ideas to a venture capital internship to finding Veritus. Yeah.
Right, Dr. Manas. I think that gave an insight into your journey. I think I would also like to dig your brain a little bit on, since you mentioned about Veritas and your path being a slightly unconventional, depending on what the situation needed rather than you going into a straight line. I think many of our students are of late trying to balance research, learning, and early projects like and from your own experience, how do you manage the tension between academic rigor and real world, application publishing papers, filing patents, or even translating research into something usable while also building a company? I think these are questions that a lot of our students have, because as you said, there are certain curveballs wherein your research gets stuck in a peer review, or you face issues while literature reviews and literature research and so on. So how do you balance the academic rigor with the real world application and even building a startup per se? I think that is something that I would like to.
Yeah, that is a tough one. So essentially, these are three different things. It is possible that, and it is, I'm seeing a lot, especially in AI and computing, that researchers work on a problem, they solve it, and then they go out and build companies on that, or that becomes instantly useful for society as well. So whether it's through patents or through products, it's possible. Uh, but finding that intersection is hard, right? Uh, Today, AI and especially research in machine learning is sort of in that at that level where this is possible. But in many fields, research may not have immediate application to some problem that society is facing today. It may unlock the pathways for a problem to be solved in the future. All research is the collective like knowledge evolution of humanity towards solving problems at scale, uh, our collective problems at scale. And sometimes they have a direct application, sometimes they contribute meaningfully and move the technology forward, innovation forward. It may not be clear. And sometimes you're just doing it for fun. And although I never believe that it is the case that you do research and it does not move human knowledge or intelligence forward, it always does. So, put it simply, do not worry about whether your research is going to cure cancer or be the next major big breakthrough, or you're going to change lives instantly with 1 or 10 papers, right? Do it for the joy of doing it. If you find a problem interesting, just go ahead and solve it. And whether if you want to build a product on top of it or an app, or you want to just publish it as a paper, be very clear. Like I said in the first problem, be very clear about what your end goal is and enjoy the process. So then it instead of work, it becomes play,
Right.
right? And if it's play, then it's fun. And then you can do one, start with a small project, build it, gets published, good, turns into an app, good. Doesn't matter, right? You at least went from 0 to 1. You did something, and then build up on that. Pick another problem to solve that one, publish it, or build an app on it, put it out, and then progressively go forward. So it would take the burden off. Instead of doing a very high jump, now you're like slowly taking steps and moving forward. I think that's easier to do, especially for early career researchers or young researchers who are just starting out.
Right, Dr. Manas. I think that was very insightful, and I want to follow up a question based on what you said. Regarding the mindset of researchers. Just be happy, enjoy the process, and go for something that you're interested in. So this brings me to the next question: that beyond technical skills, what habits or mindsets do you think that matter for students who want to grow into strong researchers over time? Because I think, as you mentioned, there is one big spike, and then there are a lot of ebbs wherein you need to be persistent enough to stay in the process and enjoy the process and not get too worried about results, because research is a lonely place wherein you see other people growing in you know corporate careers, and then you see yourself stagnant for a long period of time, and then it suddenly translates into results. So what are the different mindsets and approach that one needs to have in to evolve into this powerhouse of research?
Yeah, that's also a good question, especially for young researchers. So I would just like to have a conversation here. What's your experience? Have you done a research project, and what was your experience here?
think uh, I think the audience and other members can also definitely pitch in. But if I
Yeah.
have to tell my experience, I have been a part of one research project during my final. In fact, two actually during my. But one was the major project during my final year undergraduation. In fact, it was a tedious process at that time because I wasn't doing research standalone. I was juggling academic work as well as an internship, and I was doing research. So it didn't feel much of a pressure in terms of the time which I was investing into it, but it definitely felt. Uh, the learning felt a little overwhelming because I was exposed to a plethora of research papers and different methodologies, but at the same time it definitely felt rewarding and enjoyable. As you said, it need not necessarily cure cancer. Even a small amount of an improvement would in a field where you enjoy the process will definitely uh, you know get you into the groove, and it definitely did for me, and I learned a lot out of that. And some of the habits which I inculcate is, I think, being methodical. If there's one takeaway which I have to get from my research journey, it was a very brief journey actually, but it is being methodical and not skipping steps and not taking shortcuts. That is something that I would want to emphasize here.
Absolutely. And which is why I wanted you to share is that your experiences are what the audience would relate best with because they are your peers and your colleagues. And it's correct. You have to be methodical. First, you have to, well, maybe I've said this already two times, but it cannot be said enough. So I'll say it again. Uh, Pick your path or pick your poison, whatever it is. Pick that, get your direction right, and then move in that direction. One, that almost always removes any doubt about why you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
I think it's very good to have that clarity. Once you have that, like you said, methodical, absolutely build systems. Take your time. If you're doing data analysis, don't just vibe analyze. Gather your data. Gather 3,000, 4,000, 400,000 samples if you need. Take your time, compile all that data, go step by step, clean that data, uh, learn different techniques, uh, go stepwise so that create a scalable and repeatable process. And it's incredibly hard. Sometimes it can be very hard, but take the time. And I'll tell you why this is rewarding. Now, Betty's again in the audience, and she did a thermal comfort project in India, in 5 schools in Dehradun, and then all over the country, coming in from Kyushu University in Japan. And she had, if I'm correct, over 400,000 samples of surveys done on white papers, like sheets. So she had 2 suitcases that she took back from India each time. And then she spent 6 months transcribing those into Excel sheets. A bit of OCR, but she did it manually and double checked. So it took 6 months of very boring, dry work of getting your data from sheets into an Excel sheet to be able to analyze it. But once that was done, I think she published 6 papers in a matter of 1.5 years. So there was nothing, a lot of dry, boring work. I mean, there was fun. You go do your experiments and your surveys, and then for 6 months you're like just doing the dry grunt work, and then it takes off. So it's very important that during those 6 months you have motivation, and the joy will carry you forward because she loved her project. It helped her continue and move forward. That helps for that helps everyone. So do something you love, create systems, uh, build a bit of grit and persistence. It's essential, not just in research but also in startups. Many of your entrepreneurial, it's very important. Things will always be hard. So to carry you forward, you need that muscle. And find a peer, a buddy, a colleague.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I mean, if you are if you like to go out hiking, rock climbing, something once in a week, de-stress. Even if it's just getting a drink and venting, venting helps. I mean, of course, you can also meditate, but it's not as fun as grabbing a beer and just like this sucks and that guy, whatever it is, right?
Because
So
venting
yeah,
releases a lot.
fine. Yeah. So get some support system. In research, it gets very lonely, like you said, right? You need someone cheering you on. You need someone who can empathize with what you're going through. Your parents won't. People who are not going through the journey with you, they might not. Uh, Sometimes your partners might not because they're not doing it, right? So you have to find someone who is in the trenches with you, even if not alongside you, but they are also waging their own battle. And find that camaraderie, find that like comfort in just intellectual discussion, or just like I said, shooting the shit. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that was a deep dive into the mindset. I think attitude is everything is something that a lot of times I've seen it happen. So I think this is the right kind of, habits to inculcate. Speaking on your experience, would the work have been slightly easier had there been, AI tools like today? If you were starting your research journey with like the AI tools, which now have like Claude Cowork, for example, and so on, many more such tools, what would you do differently? And number one is what would you do differently? A follow up of that is what would you double down on and what would you avoid? And the last one is, if you could go a little bit more on vibe research. I think I mean, it is essentially regarding AI, using AI only, but you should not get caught up on the wrong kind of vibe research and skip steps. You should be methodical, but at the same time, you can focus on the stuff which actually researchers want to, and kind of try to remove the dry stuff about research. So if you could shed a few, if you could throw a few insights on this, I think that would be great.
Okay. So these are a bunch of questions. Um,
No, okay.
what we If I were to start my research today, uh, the tools that we have today would certainly help. Like I manually had to read those papers, uh, like on a tab. I even bought like a paper. I'm forgetting what the name is. There's a Japanese company that makes those papers. So I would take abstracts, conclusions, findings, and then compile all of them. And
Mm,
now today you can do that in 5 minutes, maybe. You take
correct.
all those 200 papers, and then Notebook LM or any other tool can compile them very quickly. It's amazing, the technology today, and I use it. I was like, okay, I've done enough of this. I want to do something new. I was deeply interested in causality, like why does something happen, and if you change some of the input, how would the output be? How would the output change? So I was interested in counterfactual machine learning. It's not very cool and trending, but it's something that I'm deeply interested in. So I use these tools to read through hundreds and thousands of papers. Without it, with a full-time job in a startup, it would be impossible. But I was able to pivot. We published 2 papers and done actual practical work, like in Wakayama City in Japan. Applied that learning. My bad. So definitely, I think you can think of it that earlier when you were moving in a cart, it would take days, and
Mm,
then in a car you could move much faster, and then now you have a rocket ship.
right.
But especially for early career researchers, this is a rocket ship. Please use it, and not just Veritus, any tool. and we
Yeah.
don't do very deep literature reviews or at the moment. So use the other tools. There are good tools like Undermined, and Notebook LM is a good one. Please use these tools and get started. Now you need to get that initial. What it does best is it takes the friction out in early stages when
Hmm.
you don't know. It gets you from 0 to 1 very quickly,
Hmm.
right? So that's beautiful. We use that, yes. I personally pressure test all my manuscripts before I submit. We have not had any rejection since we started using Veritas. So once you're done with writing your drafts, use Veritas. 1 month on me. Yeah. And then your next question was, sorry, what was the last one?
Think you know the last one is, what would you double down on and what would you avoid in terms of trap of vibe researching blindly and not skipping steps, I think.
Okay. So I would double down on using the tools to discover. Think of it when my supervisor was in PhD in masters, they used to go to a library and find journals manually, like from an index.
Right.
And then Google Scholar came along, and then searching became easier. And now you can search many papers at scale. But also, 2 papers are getting published a minute. So, like, you need the semantic search or hybrid search engines now, like Veritas, to sort of filter those papers out, use them wisely. It is the natural step in evolution. Like, you need that. Double down on discovery, double down on synthesis and analysis using these tools. Uh, those absolutely double down on. It gets you started very quickly to get to actual research, right? It's essential. What to avoid is to do writing through them.
Right.
And I cannot say this enough. And there is enough neuroscience, enough like science out there that will tell you that writing is closely linked to your ability to think and form story arcs. And as humans, we think in stories. Like, even in mathematics, you might have seen when we were kids, they would give us steps. A step is nothing but a story arc, right? Like, after this, I do this, after this, I do this, and then hence proved or whatever, right? So writing through AI tools takes that power away. It I'm seeing this a lot. Sure, your paper sounds very glossy and nice and it looks cool, but you didn't write it. So even if in your own language, even if in a shitty version, a bad non-native language, just write it. Then yes, polish it, paraphrase, improve, certainly. But do not, and I do not do that, and I insist that the interns and researchers I work with, they do not use AI to write.
Hmm.
So that's one thing I would absolutely avoid. Finally, vibe researching. I think there's a fundamental difference between vibe coding slash vibe engineering and vibe research.
Right.
It's just like the difference between a startup and a company. In a company, you know what the market is, what product is to be built, and you only have to sell it to them.
Hmm.
Engineering is pretty much like that. You know what is possible, what you have to build, and if you can vibe code some of it, you don't have to look under the hood
Hmm.
because you know what the end goal or end output looks like. This is a car. This is a bowl of ramen, right? It's just you know what the end product and output looks like. So even if AI does some of the thing in between deep neural nets and you don't know what's happening, that's fine. As long as you went from 0 to 1 and 1 actually works, you get to the output. The manifest outcome is what you intended. It's good. Of course, there are going to be latent outcomes that you did not intend,
Right.
like a lot of boilerplate code and a lot of bugs and security issues that you do not know about. But in research, you do not know what the manifest outcome is. It's exploration of the unknown. And if you vibe research, then you are delegating away or sharing, not sharing, like you're delegating away the core work of thinking and creating and innovating that you're supposed to do. And not only does that take the human out of the loop from the process of ideation and creation, it also uh, blocks you from innovating further because those pathways are not built in your mind anymore.
Right.
Those 99 trials where a bulb doesn't light up are not built in your head anymore, right? The vibe research just does those 99 hypothesis formulations.
Mm.
Yes, you get to a result faster, but the machine does, not you. You don't have the knowledge of the 99 ways why something doesn't work. So, like, do you move faster? Yes, in the short term, but what happens in the long term?
Right.
Yeah, what happens if all the computers die down one day? Like apocalyptic, but I'm just saying. Like, yeah. So
I think we are too dependent on it to even think about that such a scenario. Uh,
I see that. Like, sorry to like, maybe I'm just.
no, no, no.
Yesterday, I received a message from an intern who's worked with us for some time. Earlier, the messages were like last year, they were in plain English. Now they are very polished, and it's like, wow, that's yeah.
Right. So I think you mentioned about the 99 times wherein somebody failed to and the lights weren't on. I think it instantly resonated with Shuji Nakamura, a
Mm,
Japanese inventor, wherein is one of my favorite stories actually when it
mm,
comes to inventions. I think my follow-up next question and the final one for today would be from my side
Before
would
that,
be
Karthik, could I
so
cut in and ask a question?
yeah, absolutely.
So,
Please go ahead.
Manas, you mentioned earlier that there's a connection between storytelling and the research process itself. And that idea kind of stayed with me because I've noticed that when I'm trying to understand a topic deeply, I almost have to build a kind of narrative in my mind about what the problem is, why it matters, and how various ideas sort of connect together. So I was wondering, when you're formulating a research question, do you also think about it in terms of a story, kind of like identifying the tension or the missing piece in the existing narrative of a field? And if so, how do you learn to see those gaps properly?
Yeah,
I don't know if my question
that
is.
that is a very insightful question, and I think it's the foundation of all research and the foundation of all work in startups that we do. In research, we call it literature review, and hypothesis formulation. In startups, we call it customer discovery, and again, hypothesis formulation in some ways. Um, in one, you get punched in the face by the market, and the other, you get punched in the face by the peer reviewers. But you definitely get punched in the face at some point, right? So, yes, it is important to sort of know where you're going. When you figure out a problem, uh, the motivation behind that problem is important. And I would say initially, I'll just say Siddharth is saying something. Using it right, my manuscript. Shashank, thank you. Let us ask GPT what will happen. Okay. Ideal way to understand papers or deep topics. Yes. So if you have an intuition uh, about it, definitely move forward in that direction because it will bring you joy and you'll be able to persevere through difficult times. Samyukta, coming back to yours, you may not always be able to connect the dots going forward. Like, so if you start with something you enjoy, just pick it up. And I can tell you, with my limited experience, is that the dots connect eventually. You would just find your way into the fog. So you can think of it as meandering through uh, like haze and fog that you do not know. You only know I have to go north, but there is so much fog you do not know, but you do want to get there. But as you move one step forward, the next 3 feet get clearer, and then the next 3 feet get clearer. And you also get some elevation along the way as you move forward. And once you're at a higher pedestal, you look back, and then the whole picture becomes clearer. And that's where your narrative and story arc will come into play. And you'll be able to connect the dots and also maybe change your trajectory a little bit when you have that view. Okay, this is the path that I took. Maybe I don't want to go this way. Maybe my research should go that way, and maybe I go in that direction. Sometimes advice from mentors also sort of helps move you along that trajectory or reshape it a little bit. Uh, but early on, especially in your first 2 or 3 projects, you may not be able to go from this looks interesting to this is the entire story arc of my paper or my project. But do not let it prevent you from doing that. Move forward. And by the time you're in your fourth project, you still would not know the full story, but you would be able to have a meta story. Like, this is where I'm headed. This is what might happen. So that'll emerge.
A follow up, how do you ensure that you don't stray too far off course, that you deviate completely just because new avenues are opening up?
Yes, that's in everything in startups as well. It's called maybe not the right term, but shiny object syndrome. It's like, oh, this seems cool. Maybe I should go and try that. Oh, that looks nice. Yeah. Um, you have to look at your research or any work that you're doing as a marriage. Sure, it feels good to like swipe right a lot, but once you have swiped right once, then stick with it and then just move forward. Solve a problem. One good way to think about it is so that's a long term, but short term, once unless you hit one specific milestone, do not like do not diverge, do not go anywhere. For your project, it could be something like Samyukta started a project and her goal is to build a system that does this XYZ thing. And the one tangible outcome that she wants is to write a white paper on this, even if it's not published. Until you reach that white paper, do not stop. Even if something new comes along and someone says, oh, you're doing this XYZ method, but how about you try this ABC that's come out? No, take this thing to that end output, the milestone you have set, then go back out and iterate and use ABC. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in the endless middle. I call it the endless middle, where you're like, okay, I'm going to try this today, but there is no output. And then something new comes along, and then you're again endless middle. It's like an iterative phase. The worst part about that is that there is no learning. Like many of you are AI engineers, so you have to know that a system has to have an input and an output. And for the feedback loop to work, you have to get to the output so that you can iterate and improve upon it. But if you do not get to that output and change your strategies and techniques or whatever in the middle, then you're just rotating in a circle without a concrete, tangible feedback to your next input on how your output should iterate or the trajectory, where should it go. Sorry, it became very weird or long, but what I'm trying to say is start with an input, get to an output, and then change so that your trajectory is well informed.
So that tells me that as much as research is a low beam light and trust the process kind of a deal, you also have to stick to the tangible goals that you have in place so that you don't get stuck in that dreaded middle and just keep going on a hamster wheel.
That is true. It is the only way, and you avoid the hamster wheel and you walk through the fog, as I like to call it. And that's where mentors and advisors and supervisors and professors or researchers that you're working with, they help. Because sometimes you might just step into quicksand while you're walking into like the fog, right? Or there might be a precipice that you might follow. I mean, it's the hypotheticals, but then they help you steer away from those. They are like, definitely don't do this. This is not going to work because they have those 99 iterations that are not vibe researched. So they would be able to help you with that. So it's always good to have an advisor or a mentor, someone who is what I like to in emerging fields. What I really like people that I really like to work with are people who have one who are one step ahead of you in your same field because they've just gone through what you're going through and they relate to it much better rather than someone who's a professor. They might guide you, they might tell you what works and what doesn't, but someone who's just published a paper or finished a project in your field, that person is the best to take advice from in the short term. For the long term, it's someone who's an authority in the field that has many years of expertise in the field. But you need to balance those two inputs so that one person you use for the direction their advice you leverage for the direction, and the other person their advice you leverage for the execution.
Uh, thank you, Samyukta, for the question, and thank you, Manas, for the long and in fact a very insightful answer. I think the floor is now open for questions from the audience. We would take questions one by one. Yeah, I think the first person can paste their question in the chat or maybe open the mic, whichever is comfortable at this point. Thank you.
I was just hop in and ask a small question to Manas. So we were talking about the mindset thing, right? So I have been working also as a freelance researcher with some of the students right there in the fourth year or maybe in the masters. And what I've observed that there are many students who have this mindset that, oh, we can get an average benchmark and just publish a paper. So maybe not doing something new, not doing something innovative, but just getting an average benchmark and putting a paper. So what do you feel about that? Because you also guide students, right? So is this mindset the correct way to maybe get into research?
I don't want to say anything to step on any toes. So, right. Okay. Look, guys, everyone has their own game, right? I have my game. Uh, Everyone's got their own game going on, and as long as it's not a bad game, uh, all games are valid. I'm not of the opinion that. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Oh yes, Manas, absolutely.
Great.
Yes, yes.
Whatever is the end goal, go ahead and execute and achieve that. If the end goal is to publish one paper a week, some people do that. Sure, go ahead and do that. While doing that, don't plagiarize, don't steal, don't lie, don't fabricate. But if you're able to otherwise collaborate with researchers all over the world and put out one publication a week, please definitely go ahead and do that. If that's your game, play it, win it. Similarly, if your game is to do one project a year, but have your own idea that it should be extremely meaningful and revolutionize or transform a specific field or put out something remarkably new, then go ahead and do that. Very often I see researchers on everywhere like this is bad or that is good. Only lying, cheating, stealing is bad. Everything else is good in some way or the other. I don't think even the finest minds in the world are capable of processing or understanding the impact of cumulative intelligence of humanity. I would even add that recently, and uh, pardon me for it being a bit long, I reached out to someone in the US, and that person claims to be a researcher. And he said, all of the great research comes from US, West, and China. Don't take it the wrong way, but Indian researchers are just not there yet. So, sure, all of you publish one paper each, a week if you can. Get there, right? And that's fine. Like, but don't fabricate, don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat. That's it. Those are the rules. And within those rules, all games are valid games.
All right.
I
Thank
think
you.
the institutions are stepping up on this too. The NIRF ranking is something that matters a lot. So I think that is also playing its part. I think we have a few hands raised. I'd like to take Jain Khanna's question. If you could please unmute. And
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
thank you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I'll just charge my MacBook. It's fine. Just give
Um,
me a sec.
sure, sir.
Yeah, I'm back. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for the session, sir. I'm getting a lot out of this. I had a few questions. So I am currently pursuing a research at IISc, and there are a lot of problems that I face on a day-to-day basis, in terms of not exactly research but motivation. And it's not very, it's a curveball. It's not exactly I haven't found an answer to it. The question is basically, I'm working in a field where I'm working in speech. I'm applying generative models to speech, but I'm not exactly interested in that. The reason I'm doing this right now is because I need publication, because publications is how you get recognized. That's how you get to better labs. That's how you get masters. That's how you. So it's basically a stepping stone. But a lot of times, also, like you said, that funding is very important. The labs that are being funded are right now the ones that the labs, basically LLMs and generative models and such areas are being funded. So but I feel right now LLMs, research on LLMs and research in some areas will plateau very soon. The funding where the places where the funding is very high right now, it will plateau very very soon. Agentic AI, rags, it will plateau very very soon, because it's just the realization of the technology we've made. It's not a new technology per se. So I feel that I like something theoretical more, but I can't go there because there isn't much funding, A, and B, doing research in that is painfully long because it's extremely theoretical. So I don't find myself doing the research I actually want to do. So what are your thoughts on this? Should I stick to a place where my heart isn't my it isn't exactly, should I for some time just do research where there is funding, or should I look into places where I actually find are of my interest?
Okay. I'll just paraphrase it for you. Please correct me if I'm wrong. One, you're pursuing research in a field that is new and trending and has funding and some like vibe going on, but you're not very deeply interested in the topic, and you're doing it so that you can publish, and that helps with your career goals.
Correct. Absolutely. Yes.
And the things that you're interested in are theoretical, they're long, and but you really want to do them. However, you also mentioned that they are painfully long, so I want to briefly touch upon that.
Yeah.
Did I get all that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Cool. Uh, Look, there are, like I said, there are no right answers. So from what I've heard, when Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook, he was like, "Oh, I'll go to the Valley for the summer. If it doesn't work out, I'll go back to Harvard." Now, if I could go back to Harvard or an IIT after a semester, my perspective of life would be very different. I would only do things that I want to do or I like to do. Uh, and we have had within our team a lot of debates and with my friends as well on where you're born and the family, the country that shapes a lot of I will do what I want and I must do this to get ahead in life, like pay your dues, sort of. There is no right answer. Your realities are your realities. If uh, getting to MIT or Stanford or Carnegie Mellon or the University of Osaka or Tokyo and IIT is your end goal, and for that you need a paper, please go ahead and do that because that's your reality. That's your life. No one else should or can say anything about, oh, you're doing something you don't want to, that's a waste of your time. It's not. Like if your end goal is to get there and you get there, then yes, it's not a it's not a wrong thing to do. You have a short-term goal, achieve that. Long-term, it's not a good strategy. When you do things you don't enjoy, the common word is burnout, and people say that, oh, my office is bad, or my job is, or my boss is bad, and I'm burnt out. I slept 3.5 hours yesterday. I've slept maybe on an average 4.5 hours this entire month, but I'm not burnt out, right? I can go, I'll work the whole day today, and I enjoyed what I do. So your burnout comes from doing things that you do not want to do, but you're doing them anyway. Short term, fine. Long term, very bad strategy. So don't do that. Get to your win and then pick your theoretical topic and pursue it. That would be my advice. Second, one minor inconsistency is that if you want to do something, um, then it's just long or it takes the time it needs. It's not painful. It's joyful, right? Because now you're having fun. Even if it's theoretical stuff, and if you're enjoying it, I don't think it will be painful. Did
I
I answer it correctly?
Yes, sir. You answered them really well. Thank you for that.
Of course. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Manas. We have one question from Abik, if I'm pronouncing that right. Abik, can you unmute your mic?
Yeah, hello. So my
Hi,
name is
Beek.
Abhik. I'm pursuing a dual degree currently. So I have more than one questions. Is it okay if I keep asking?
Okay. Ask me one, I'll answer one, then ask me the second one. I'm
All
a
right.
little
So
fuzzy
my
today.
first
Yeah.
question is you already answered, should we use AI? So that's a yes, because it's a very useful tool that everyone should use. But how should we use AI and how much? Because in my offline college, I worked with a few of my friends who just went on to AI, entered some prompt and copied and pasted it, which obviously is not the right way to do research. How should we do research using AI and how much should we use? How much AI should we use?
Yeah. Abhik, that is a difficult question because unlike other technologies, for example, Google Scholar or Search that existed earlier, or any other platforms that existed earlier, there was a limit to how much you can depend on them. They did not do anything end to end. But this technology, howsoever poorly, can do something end to end. It may not be good or even useful, but it can make a very shiny, nice paper within 5 minutes, and you can go ahead and submit that, and people do. So it's mostly about self-regulation. If you are, what others are doing is less important. I was recently talking to an engineer who, like a CTO of a company, who shared that uh, it's getting incredibly hard to find young engineers who can code without AI. Like if there is a bug or there's an issue and they do not have access to like an AI tool, they're just not able to figure out and solve that problem. But if we like, that's the thing. It's a useful tool, but uh, it can also deprive you of your own thinking. And because it gets you to that dopamine of a tangible output so quickly, it can be addictive. Like it can be a sort of a like a heroin that you just go to every time. And as an undergraduate student, I have also like when I had to submit something very quickly, I also copied other people's like assignments and like just submit when I had to when I was an undergraduate. So that happens a lot. So maybe it's replaced all that, and now no one has to take a friend's help. They can just put the questions and copy paste and submit. A little bit like it's inevitable, and sometimes if you have to, you do it. But the best way to go about it would be to, especially in research, never do it. We in our lab we have a even if it's a non-native English speakers in the lab, researchers in general, we do not use AI to write. It is our like core fundamental tenet that everything is okay, finding, searching, analyzing, comparative analysis, fine. But we are not going to write using AI. We write first drafts, howsoever badly written, we write them ourselves, and then we improve upon them. So maybe do that. Yeah. And explore. And if you have a good answer, please share it with me. I'll also learn something.
All right, that's a great answer. So second question is, this is somewhat related to Jain's question as well. Uh, Many times we have interest in many different topics and subjects that we would like to research, but how
Mhm.
can we make sure and verify it that what we want to research is of our passion and not just mild interest?
Mm, yeah, that's a good one. Look, you'll get at some point you have to like decide. It's like I said, it's your research interests may change over time, and that's fine. But at least for 6 months or 1 year, you will have to commit to something. And at that point, make it a rule to not, once I've decided, I'm not going to look around. It's like when you date someone, right? Once you've committed that, okay, I'm going to be dating this person, then it's not like you're on six other dating apps and just swiping right all day. Then you're like, okay, off the apps, at least for this period. So decide on a topic and get off the apps. nothing else. Once it is done, once you have and get to an outcome, it'll help you with two things. One, it'll build persistence. Doing things that you thought you liked, but in the process you realize you do not like that much, but doing them, continuing to doing them as if you love them and going to a tangible output or a successful outcome is the biggest delta that you can have when everyone else is primed on shorts and fast context switches, because that gives you the superhuman ability of doing things that you do not like and going to an output and succeeding. So it'll build that muscle. I'm not saying you do that for 3 years because then it'll burn you out. Do that for 3 months. Yeah. I don't know if that
So
answers it
basically,
correctly.
pick a topic of interest, lock down on it for at least 6 months, and see if the outcome is of our interest or not. Then we can continue on it.
Yes.
Right. So moving on to third question, this is a bit more personal. I'd like to ask the mistakes that you have made in your early research career that you would like to warn us against.
That is very useful. It's just, I think it's the best question to be answered. I pursued topics that I fancied. I was like, okay, this is something I'm going to do. And I picked, in my first research, I picked a topic that was incredibly old and outdated. I picked wireless mesh networks. Mm, and even though my professor suggested that I should move towards IoT, Dr. Reddy suggested that, my circumstances was that I was undergoing a very severe back injury, like under treatment, and maybe I took an easier recourse there to not having come to the lab and worked remotely. So that's on me. Um, but if I were to do it differently, I would pick a slightly more relevant topic. We did do research on the latest Wi-Fi standards on those areas. But if one thing I can share with you is pick what you like and enjoy, but at the same time, also test it for relevance. They would actually be topics that are relevant today, even if they are not hot and trending, but they are at least super relevant and that you love them. I did not do that exercise in my master's. And in hindsight and going forward, I always do that now.
Okay, I think this also somewhat relates to Neil deGrasse Tyson's advice about choosing classes, courses, and research. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but he basically says whenever anyone is choosing a class or a course, they should never choose the easiest one or a quote unquote easy one, because it will be easy for everyone, and there's no point in scoring a 9 in an easy course, whereas it's much better if you're only scoring a 4 or a 5 in a difficult course, but that course actually means something to you, it's actually relevant to you.
I haven't. If you can share that link, I would love to go through that like blog or vlog or video. Yeah, it sounds interesting, a good concept. Look, I do not. I think I've heard of this gentleman, but what I would say is it's not so much about easy and difficult. Maybe the easy course is something you're deeply interested in, right? Like in our undergraduate course, and I don't know if it relates with many of you, environmental studies or was the easiest course. It's like you could literally prepare for it in 2 hours. Like no one ever studied that. But if you are going to be a climate scientist, uh, sure, take that course and study the hell out of that, right? Why not? It's your passion. If someone wants to go into environmental sciences, climate sciences, then that's the course they take and they really deep dive into it. So even if everyone gets a 9, once they've gotten their 9, they're out. And then you're the only person in that space because you really love it. So
So
Perfect.
relevancy to you and your interest is what matters the most.
Yes, you're right.
We're moving on to the next question. For
Uh,
young researchers and beginners like me, how do we network with the right people?
No, both matchmaking and networking are hard things. It is partly serendipity, you'll meet them, or it's trial and error. You'll meet enough wrong ones, and then you'll meet the right people. Yeah. So just for context, we are three co-founders in the company, and I think we met with over 500 people to sort of uh, have this co-founding team. Same way for our engineers. There are many people who came, left, many people who joined or did not join and engaged with us, could be in the thousands. So it's very hard. That's a very hard problem. The only thing is you just meet new people and have conversations, see if you align with them, work with them. Something you can try, we do it, YC prescribes it, is do a trial work. Do a small project. Like, okay, I'm going to do a hackathon with you this weekend. Work with them for 2 days, see if you have a good fit. Then go ahead and work with them for 2 months, see if you have a good fit. Then go ahead and work with them for 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
perfect. I
logic, sir.
think in the interest of time, sorry, I think we'll move to
Yeah.
just
I
the
will
last
have to
person.
cut it
Okay,
short and
okay.
Yeah,
leave
My
in two
bad.
minutes.
yeah, you can always, in fact, I have dropped all the links. We have dropped all the links in the chat. You can always reach out to Dr. Manas and book an appointment with him or anyhow which works. Moving on to the last question with from the audience. Josh, you have raised your hand. We would conclude with this
Hello,
one.
sir.
Hi, Josh.
I'm standalone student in this degree. Yes, I want
Josh, can
to.
you give me just 1 minute? I will push my
Okay,
meeting
okay,
back. I'm almost at time. Just give me 1 second.
okay, okay.
Hi. Yeah,
Yes. I want to ask about the master admission process. Is it okay?
absolutely. In Japan?
Yes.
Okay. So there are two scholarships, mixed, MEXT,
No,
and
sir.
JICA.
Yes, sir. I already researched and talked to the professor in Japan University, in Nara University.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes,
Is it
and
Nara University or Nara Institute of
Nara
Science and
Institute
Technology?
of Science and Technology.
Nice. Yes. We
Yes,
collaborate with them as well.
in field of AI on.
Hmm.
Yes, I want to ask about the recommendation later. Like I'm currently standard student in degree, but here we don't provide a recommendation later.
Okay.
Your
So you need to get the reco letter from that professor or
no, my current university professor, but in this degree we don't provide a recommendation later.
that is a difficult one. Is there any researcher or research group that you have worked with in the past?
No,
Is there anyone that you have worked? So a recommendation letter must be authentic in the sense that you have to have had some sort of professional engagement with the person that you're taking it from.
yes,
So my recommendation would be reach out to a senior, even if you have not done academic work, if you have
yes.
been part of a club or a group or anything with them, take it from them.
But like senior will be fine.
I suppose so. I do not know the rules, so I would not know the
Okay,
details. Just you'll have to look at them. But you can also communicate. Hmm, it might be tricky. All right, let's have a chat later. Maybe Samyukta can share my number with you. Uh,
okay, okay,
yeah, I will be a bit busy, but we can communicate over WhatsApp
okay.
messages.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Sure.
perfect.
Good luck,
Thank you.
Josh.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for your questions, the audience and all the other members. It's been incredible chatting with you. If there is enough bandwidth from your side, we are always available. But if at all there's enough bandwidth from your side, we would absolutely love to see a demo of Veritas AI from if it's in the cards. And yeah,
Yeah, I can definitely show you. I would have to leave in 5 minutes, but and before I show the demo, I do want to make an ask. So everyone, thank you so much for joining in. I hope the conversations added some value. Now we are launching. We launched 4 months ago, a soft launch. We are now in 20 plus countries, 4,000 or maybe 5,000. We've crossed 5,000 plus researchers. We have one enterprise lab customer, and we are doing pilots with 3 universities in India. So I request you to share Veritus with your professors, PIs, anyone in your research group who is submitting a paper or writing a paper. We only help once the V0 draft is ready. Not we don't write, but they can do literature reviews, gap analysis, and it'll certainly help them. And we're happy to do 1 month free. So
Perfect.
please share it with them. That's my ask. All right. Let me. Okay. This Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I don't use Meet a lot, so I'm just a little. Okay, cool. I think we are here. So this is the Veritas dashboard. Sorry. Okay. This is the Veritas dashboard. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Manas.
Awesome. So we do 3 things at this point. We help you find papers, we help you read papers, and we help you do gap analysis and search-backed improvements in your papers before a submission. So paper search, so 3 problems: search, synthesis, like reading, and then an analysis of, gap analysis, comparative analysis with another paper, or a deep dive, a very deep agentic review of the manuscript. So this is the search. I would just quickly walk you through one. So what it does is that it finds the topmost papers on any problem at any given point. You can choose the time horizon and all that, and it'll find we try to remove the junk science, not great papers, and only deliver the best results. And we have a relevance score that's been tested in 5 pilots, and it's pretty spot on. And a research overview. So if you're starting on something new, you can quickly find the problem, get on, find the problem, enter the problem statement, and get a quick overview of that research landscape. You're able to do that here. Interestingly, I demoed this during my immigration when I was in the border control checkpoint at the San Francisco airport. I was detained for almost like 2.5 hours, so I had to demo my way into the US. So that's why all these are in different interviews. Okay, so this is the Veritas search. Now let's go to Manuscript Assistant. The Manuscript Assistant does 4 things. Number one, and even before that, it needs your V0 draft. It needs your first draft. We don't do writing. So you write, and then we help improve it. We make it submission ready. We do all of the gap analysis, very detailed scientific analysis. If you want to benchmark it against a recent paper, you can compare it here. So this is what it looks like. Breaks the paper down into the IMRAT format and analyzes your literature review, figures out what's there, what's missing, and critically evaluates it and makes actionable suggestions. So our core focus is something that you can do within 1 or 2 months to improve the paper. It then finds the most recent papers that are highly aligned with your topic, and it puts them right here. So for example, this paper is from 2025. It'll find that and put it here. So you don't have to go ahead and find the gaps I mean, do find your own papers to plug those gaps. It'll just find them for you here. Similarly, on the methods and results, what else can be done? What are the limitations of your work that you have acknowledged or not acknowledged? It finds that. It does a comparative analysis against papers you have cited in your draft when they are publicly available. And it also finds contradictions. Now, a contradiction is something that you claim that is different from the state of the art. We do not decide whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. You do, but it highlights those contradictions, compiles all of that as a concise report so you can share it with your peers or collaborators and work on those suggestions together. And of course, share it from here as well. They get invited to this workspace. It's of course view only, so it's private to you. All right, so that's manuscript review. Scientific analysis is more detailed, more rigorous. It breaks the thing down into study design, data collection processes, devices you have used, what is the solution. Similarly, results and findings are again broken down into alignment with the research problem. Whatever you're solving or whatever you solved, did it actually solve the problem? How accurate and precise it was? So it's like much more detailed. And then we have language analysis, looks for, so I have not run it because like mostly language is okay. But you can run it to find structure, story arcs, sentences are too dense, too academic, or not free flowing, and other gaps that are in your writing. And then there is one-on-one comparison. Let's just say you wrote a paper and then before you submit, you want to see how many papers were published that are highly similar to yours. Or maybe you have a paper that was published that is highly similar to your submission. You can quickly compare them here. So it'll compare the two papers, and we are soon rolling out like Notebook LM, but much better. A workspace where you can compare 15, 20, 100 of these with a lot more accuracy than Notebook LM. None of these applications hallucinate the analysis and comparative workflows. You can do a critical comparative evaluation. Where does your paper shine? Where does the other paper shine? Like similarities, improvements, and limitations of your paper vis-a-vis or as compared to the baseline paper you're comparing with. That is
Manas, if I could, just how big is Veritus's database for literature review?
we pull in papers from over 240 million. That is the Semantic Scholar database plus two other databases that we have access to. We have ingested them, run our own like search and similarity finding algorithms on top of that. That's our proprietary tech. Plus, we have an agentic component that only comes in the pro tier of the search. So it comes in here. So we go out and look at other papers that are publicly available preprints, and pull them in and bring them here. So it's very recent. There is a delay between when a paper is publicly available in Google Scholar and a couple of days before it can show up on Veritus. So there's like a 2-3 days lag. But otherwise, it's 240, 50 million papers. Yeah. So you can compare with them. We do the search. If you do not have a baseline paper, you can find it. And if the preprint is available, we'll pull that for you as well. Cool. So this is the manuscript assistant suite. It helps you review, do language, like if you're doing a peer review, that's a quick one. That's this. Language analysis, a deep scientific analysis of your paper, and a one-on-one benchmark with a baseline paper. Cool. And sorry, let me go back. Then we have launched the deep review. This is an agentic review. It's quite like it's a very deep analysis on a paper. Every claim, every assumption that you have made, the gaps in those claims, and are assumptions sound or they are not feasible? Because most papers are rejected because of the assumptions that you have made or the claims that you have made. So we do very deep analysis on these two. So it would find all the gaps, and then it'll give you those evidence where those evidences are, and take you to those places in the manuscript from where it has pulled those stuff. It'll make, again, actionable suggestions that you can use to improve. And in the manuscript, and then again it finds the most relevant papers that can help plug those gaps or uh, improve the quality of the manuscript. You can download the report again. This is now a productionized version. It was in beta the last 2 months. We've rolled this out. This is currently only for professors, but if any one of you wants to take it for a spin and you're submitting a paper, please reach out and I'll give you access. All right. And the final thing that we're doing the workflow is research grants. That's like a huge pain point, sucks up a lot of time of PIs and supervisors. And since they're busy, their labs suffer. So we wanted to unlock that time for them. So this is a research grant overview, gap analysis, how a research grant can be improved. And so it's very grant specific. Right now, we are rolling it out for the Kakini grant, Kakini Early Career Research Grant this week, I think, and Monday or Tuesday. So it gives you an overall status of where your grant is and then makes suggestions. What can you improve in different sections of the paper? And also compiles it into an improvement guide and a report. So that is what we have so far.
Perfect, Manas. I think the volume and the depth of the features really amazed me. Thank you so much for this insightful demo. To hand over the floor and to present the vote of thanks, I would like to introduce our Deputy Secretary Aditi to hand over the vote of thanks. Aditi, the floor is over to you.
Thank you, Karthik. So, good evening, everyone. As we wrap up today's session, a huge thank you to our guest speaker, Manas Kala, for joining us in today's session and for sharing his journey from academic research to AI driven innovation with Veritus, and for also leaving us with so many thoughtful takeaways. Also, a special thank you to our host, Karthik, for leading today's session and keeping the conversation flowing, making it such a joy to listen to. And if there's one takeaway from today, it's this: great research begins with curiosity, grows through conversation, and finds its impact when ideas are shared and explored together. A philosophy that lies at the very heart of Razor. So, um, uh, on the behalf of the entire Razor team, thank you for being part of this session, Dr. Manas Kala as well. And we look forward to welcoming you in our future sessions. So, this is Aditi, Deputy Secretary of Razor, signing off. And thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you for having me here. It was great talking to all of you. Thanks
Thank,
for the close that they beautifully summarized everything.
thank you. Thank you so
Thanks.
much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care and reach out if you have any questions, and do share it with your professors and your labs.
Sure. Sure.
Cool. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Definitely. Thanks,
Thanks.
Manas.
Thanks, Manas.
Bye, Samyukta. Bye, Karthik.
Thank you.